Ah, yes, the Major League Baseball trade deadline, one of my favorite times of the year. Is your team going to buy and make a run for a World Series, or will your team go into sell mode and make you cry yourself to sleep every single night? Last year's trade deadline was downright amazing, and I think we could be in store for another busy one this year as well. Let's get to it. The rules for this are simple. I can only have a player going to another team one time. For example, I can't have Luis Castillo go to the Yankees and the Mets and the Dodgers and the Portland Pickles and whatever other team. Only one team per player. I also didn't just close my eyes and randomly pick a team for a player. I looked at what I think the team's biggest needs are, while also looking at how they've made trades in the past and if they would be able to match up in a trade for that player. To help me figure that out, I used baseballtradevalues.com, the best baseball trade simulator out there. Most likely, none of this will actually happen, but my potato of a brain did as much thought into this as I could. So, if you can, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button, and I don't know, hit whatever other buttons there are. Starting off with the LA Angels, I think they should make a trade for Brandon Drury. The Angels have had injuries this year to guys like Anthony Rendon, David Fletcher, and Matt Duffy. Brandon Drury, who's having a surprise season, would be perfect for the Angels because he can play multiple positions, and his bat would really help an infield that has not produced that much offense. The Angels have the talent to be able to go on a run in the second half, and Drury is a guy that can bring some balance back to LA. For the Houston Astros, I think they should make a trade for Jorge Lopez. When it comes to the Astros, they're a pretty balanced team. They rank 4th in offense, 4th in starting pitching, but it feels like the bullpen could use some more depth as they rank 8th on the year, but were 12th in the month of June. The Astros infield ranks 6th in outs above average on Baseball Savant, and Jorge Lopez gets a whopping 63% ground balls. Sounds like a good fit if you ask me. For the Oakland A's, I think they should trade Sean Murphy. The most obvious guy to trade here is Frankie Montas, and he will be traded, so I'm not going to waste this spot on him. Instead, I'm going to go with what may be a surprise pick and go with Sean Murphy. Despite struggling at the plate this year, some of his advanced numbers on Baseball Savant still look pretty good, and he's still one of the best defensive catchers out there, along with being able to handle the pitching staff very well. You don't often see catchers get traded during the season due to all the preparation needed for the pitching staff, but there are a couple other teams out there like the Giants and the Rays that could use some catching help. The A's aren't competing anytime soon, and they also have Shea Langeliers doing well in the minors. Murphy still has a high value, so why not capitalize on it? If not Murphy, then I would see what you could get for Lou Trevino, who despite having a whopping ERA of 7.17, has a very good FIP of 2.80. I think the Blue Jays should make a trade for Joe Mantiply. The Blue Jays offense has come alive in the last month, and the starting pitching is very solid despite a down year so far from Jose Barrios. The one thing the Blue Jays have needed is a solid reliever, as they only rank 25th in Fangraph WAR on the year. They currently rank 7th in saves, but they only rank 17th in ERA and 19th in FIP from their relievers in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings. Also, their lefty relievers only rank 25th in ERA and 29th in FIP. One lefty setup man is very under the radar right now, and that's Joe Mantiply of the Arizona Diamondbacks. He currently ranks 21st overall among all qualified relievers in Fangraph WAR, posting an ERA of 1.24 and a FIP of 1.89. He would be exactly the boost the Blue Jays bullpen needs to help this team go on a World Series run. The Atlanta Braves should make a trade for Andrew Benintendi. Another year, another rental outfielder for the Atlanta Braves. Last year, they went out and got Jorge Soler, Jock Peterson, and Eddie Rosario after Ronald Acuna Jr. went down, and it proved to be the right move as they went on to win a World Series. As of right now, Adam Duvall is patrolling left field, but he is having a down season, and Eddie Rosario has been out due to laser eye surgery, but he should be back soon. Alex Anthopoulos has stated that he would like to add another left-handed hitter, and Benintendi checks off a lot of boxes for the Braves. He's having a great season this year, hitting .305 with a .370 on base. Even when Rosario comes back, and who knows what kind of production you'll get from him, having a solid bat like Benintendi that can bounce around between left field and the DH spot with Marcell Ozuna would be a nice boost and some good depth for this team in a quest to repeat. The Milwaukee Brewers should make a trade for Jose Quintana. The Brewers once had an extremely good-looking rotation with the top three consisting of Corbin Burnes, Brandon Woodruff, and Freddie Peralta, but with Woodruff having a down year and Peralta out with shoulder issues, as well as Aaron Ashby having forearm issues lately, the starting pitching all of a sudden looks like a bit of a question mark. Jose Quintana of the Pirates is having a very good bounce-back season, producing a 3.43 ERA and a 3.59 FIP. This would be an in-division trade, which you don't see a whole lot of, but the Pirates have no use for Quintana and might as well get something out of him. While I do think the Brewers could use some more offense, he would be a good depth addition for the rotation, and he should not cost that much. I think the St. Louis Cardinals should make a trade for Paul Blackburn. The Oakland A's are selling. The Cardinals could use some starting pitching with Jack Flaherty once again proving to be a question mark. The Cardinals have a good infield defense, ranking 2nd overall in outs above average. Paul Blackburn gets a ton of ground balls, ranking 12th overall in ground ball percentage. Sounds like a match made in heaven. I think the Chicago Cubs should trade anyone in their bullpen. David Robertson is the guy that needs to go, as he's having a good season as the closer for the Chicago Cubs, but with Robertson being a free agent after this season, there's no reason for the Cubbies to keep him around. If I were the Cubs, I would also be open to moving guys like Scott Efros, who has a ton of control left until he reaches free agency, Chris Martin, who has a 3.26 FIP compared to an ERA of 4.03, and maybe even Michael Givens, who gets a good amount of strikeouts. I think the Arizona Diamondbacks should trade Mark Melancon and Ian Kennedy. Same goes for the Diamondbacks here. They added Melancon and Kennedy in the offseason in hopes of them maybe helping this team get to the postseason, but after a decent start to the season, the Diamondbacks are once again looking out of it, and teams will be in need of bullpen help. Melancon and Kennedy are having decent years and could get the Diamondbacks a couple of younger players to help out for their future. I think the LA Dodgers should trade for Frankie Montas. Remember when the Dodgers were going to have one of the most amazing starting rotations with Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, Trevor Bauer, Julio Urias, and Tony Gonsolin? Okay, well, Bauer ended up going away, but remember when they got Max Scherzer at last year's deadline, giving them a 1-2-3 punch of Scherzer, Buehler, and Kershaw? Okay, well, that didn't work out either. However, it's time to yet again go after a big gun and add Frankie Montas to that rotation. The Dodgers have had guys like Tyler Anderson and Tony Gonsolin step up in big ways this year, but with Buehler out for an extended period of time, it would be wise to add a big arm, especially a workhorse like Montas that can carry you through the rest of the season and help you in a big way in the postseason. The San Francisco Giants should make a trade for Josh Bell. With the division rival Dodgers going after pitching here, I have the Giants going after a bat, and a good one out there is Josh Bell. He's having a great season at the plate, and there's no reason for the Nationals to keep him. The Giants' offense has been stagnant lately, only ranking 20th in WRC Plus in the month of June, as well as only ranking 22nd in the designated hitter spot during that time. Bell is a switch hitter and would fit nicely into that lineup and could also give Brandon Bell a day off here and there. Sounds like a good fit if you ask me. The Cleveland Guardians should make a trade for German Marquez. Remember earlier when I talked about the Cardinals having a good infield defense and Paul Blackburn would be a good fit? Well, same goes here, as the Guardians have the 5th best infield defense and German Marquez ranks 15th overall in ground ball percentage. He's having a down year, but he's pitching better as of late, and a change of scenery could do him some good. He's also under control until 2024, and he doesn't cost a whole lot. Sounds like a Guardians kind of move. The Seattle Mariners should make a trade for Nelson Cruz. The Mariners have been a disappointing team this year, with many having high expectations, including myself, for this team. But lately, they've started to pick up the pace, winning 8 out of their last 10 at the time of this recording, and reducing their deficit for the 3rd wildcard spot. The starting pitching underwhelmed as a whole to begin the season, but have been performing better as of late, and the bullpen has been okay as well. One thing they could desperately use is a bat, especially at the designated hitter spot, as they rank 28th in offensive production from that spot. There's a DH out there, and he's an old friend of Seattle's, Nelson Cruz. He had a terrible first month, but since then, he's been hitting extremely well. Adding Cruz to this lineup with an eventual return for Mitch Haniger will be a huge boost for this lineup. I think the Miami Marlins should trade Pablo Lopez. The Marlins are most likely going to sell, but I wouldn't exactly say they would be complete sellers, as I could also see them looking to add pieces to help them out next year as well. One piece that could help them achieve that would be Pablo Lopez. He's having a fantastic year for Miami, and they could just hang on to him, but with such a high value due to his performance and contract control, as well as already having good pitching depth within the organization, it might be worthwhile to look into a deal for Pablo Lopez. I think the New York Mets should make a trade for Andrew Chafen. The Mets are off to a fantastic start through the first couple of months, but are starting to show some cracks as of late, going through some injuries and a sluggish month of June in which they went 13-12. To be honest, the Mets could use a few things. Another bat next to Alonso would be nice, and a starting pitcher for a rotation that's gone through some injuries with Scherzer and McGill, as well as not having DeGrom so far this year, would be nice too. However, I think the Mets have sorely missed Aaron Loup, who ended up going to the Angels, and could really use a lefty reliever at the back end of the bullpen. With their lefty relievers, they only rank 16th in ERA, 22nd in FIP, and haven't really had a late inning lefty option all year. Andrew Chafen is having a solid first year for the Tigers, posting a 2.95 ERA and a FIP of 2.29 at the time of recording this video, but he also ranks in the bottom 30% in home runs allowed, which would be really good for the Mets, as the Mets bullpen only ranks 23rd in home runs allowed per 9. Now, I definitely think the Mets should see what they can do to add someone like Luis Castillo or Frankie Montas for the rotation, as well as a bat like Trey Mancini, CJ Cron, or Josh Bell for the lineup, but that bullpen really needs a lefty to help bring some stability. I think the Washington Nationals should trade Tanner Rainey. We can see a trend here now as another team out of contention has a solid reliever that could be of use for a team in contention. Tanner Rainey is having a good year with 11 saves and an ERA under 3 and over 10 strikeouts per 9. He's not a free agent until 2026, so a team would have him for the rest of the season as well as the next 2 seasons. Earlier, I said Nelson Cruz would be a good fit for the Mariners. The Nationals may have to pay a little bit of Cruz's remaining salary, but why not send a package of Nelson Cruz and Tanner Rainey to Seattle for a couple of good prospects? I think the Baltimore Orioles should trade Anthony Santander. The Orioles have been playing above expectations this year, but they should keep looking to upgrade their future. Anthony Santander still has a few years of control, but by the time the Orioles could be competitive, Santander will be close to free agency. He's a power bat that teams in need of some offense would surely be interested in, so why not capitalize on it? I think the San Diego Padres should make a trade for Ian Happ. The Padres pitching staff has been phenomenal this year, and while the offense has been better as of late, ranking 11th in the month of June compared to their overall ranking of 18th, they could use another bat with Fernando Tatis Jr. still out and Manny Machado just returning from an ankle injury. One area they could improve is the outfield, and one guy that would make a lot of sense is Ian Happ. He can play all 3 outfield positions, and his bat would be a welcome addition as he's gotten away from just trying to hit homers to being more of an all-around good offensive player. The Pittsburgh Pirates should trade Jake Mariznick. Jake Mariznick has a knack for getting traded or going to a new team, which seems like all the time, so why not keep it up this year? Mariznick has always been light with the bat, but he continues to be one of the better outfield gloves out there. He was out for a little while with a thumb injury, but he's just about to complete a rehab assignment, and he had 3 defensive runs saved in only 22 games. He would be a glove that a team could really use off the bench. I think the Philadelphia Phillies should make a trade for both Michael Taylor and Scott Barlow. I'm going to do a package deal here, and I think the Phillies should call the Royals about both Michael Taylor and Scott Barlow. Even if Harper was still in the lineup, the Phillies desperately needed to upgrade center field, and Michael Taylor is having arguably his best offensive season in his career, hitting .276 with a .354 on base as of right now, while also playing great defense with 7 defensive runs saved, which is tied for second among all center fielders. Scott Barlow would also be a nice addition for the Phillies bullpen, which has had its ups and downs this year. The Phillies don't have the most prospects to spend, but a package of Taylor and Barlow shouldn't be too expensive. I think the Texas Rangers should trade for Pablo Lopez. Earlier, I mentioned the Marlins should look into trading Pablo Lopez, and one team that I think should go for it are the Texas Rangers. The starting pitching, carried by the surprising Martin Perez, along with John Gray and Dane Dunning, have done enough to keep them hanging around the wild card picture, but someone like Pablo Lopez would be a huge boost. He's also under control for a couple more seasons, and with the Rangers trending upward, Lopez would be a big part of their rebuild moving forward. I think the Tampa Bay Rays should make a trade for Willson Contreras. The Rays have been ravaged by injuries this year, and one guy in particular that has been a big loss is their catcher, Mike Zunino. Zunino hasn't shown much progress with an arm injury as of late, and the combo of Francisco Mejia and Rene Pinto hasn't done much offensively, as the Rays only rank 22nd in WRC Plus among their catchers, and neither are really doing anything spectacular defensively either. Why not go for a guy that can give you a jolt in Willson Contreras? He's not having his best year defensively, but he's absolutely having his best offensive season to date with a WRC plus of 156, which is a career high as of right now. The Rays need a bat, and it feels like they need a spark. Willson Contreras fits that bill. I think the Cincinnati Reds should trade Kyle Farmer. I said earlier the Angels should go after Brandon Drury, and I think the Rays should also look into shopping Kyle Farmer, who's having a decent year both offensively and defensively. Also, I do think the Reds should trade Luis Castillo, but to me, that's pretty obvious, so I'm not going to waste this spot on Castillo. There are teams out there that could use some infield help, like the Angels, as I mentioned before, and the San Francisco Giants. Farmer can play all infield positions, and he would be a nice boost offensively, considering he's hitting .284 with a .345 on base as of right now. I think the Red Sox should make a trade for Daniel Bard. Let's do it. I'm manifesting this right now. Bring Daniel Bard back to Boston. The story writes itself, as he was so good in Boston's bullpen earlier in his career, became a starter and forgot how to throw, was out of the game for 7 years, but then found himself again with the Colorado Rockies. What a great story. And no, this is not a move based off emotion. Okay, maybe it is a little, but his numbers back this up as well, as he has a 2.12 ERA with a 3.54 FIP. He also gets a ton of ground balls, ranking 23rd among all qualified relievers with a 55% ground ball percentage, and with a good Red Sox infield, it makes a ton of sense. The Red Sox bullpen really needs a big arm at the back end, and if you don't do Bard, then maybe someone like David Robertson could be a solid addition. But come on, this has all the makings of a feel-good story that could also help propel the Red Sox to their 5th World Series in the last 18 seasons. I don't care what you say, eat my shorts. I think the Colorado Rockies should trade Alex Colomé, another team out of contention with a reliever having a good season. What a surprise. Colomé has found himself in Colorado, posting a 2.54 ERA and a 2.78 FIP. He also gets a ton of ground balls, so maybe teams like the Padres, Guardians, Astros, or Braves, who have good infields, could add him to their bullpen for the stretch run. The Kansas City Royals should trade Whit Merrifield. I really thought we would have seen Merrifield get traded at last year's deadline, but the Royals decided to hang on to him, and well, that didn't really work out for him. He's having a down year offensively, but maybe a change of scenery can help out a playoff team. He still offers plenty of versatility, speed, and has at least another year of control on his contract. He could end up being a solid veteran addition for a team in contention. The Detroit Tigers should trade Michael Fulmer. The Tigers have been a bit of a disappointment this year in their quest to getting back to contention, and one guy who's having a good season that's also close to free agency is Michael Fulmer. He's been a solid setup man and a good Tigers bullpen, posting an ERA under 2 with a FIP around 3. Many teams will be calling for his services, which should only drive up his price. The Tigers need to take advantage of that. The Minnesota Twins should make a trade for Tyler Mahle. Everyone wants to talk about Luis Castillo when it comes to the Reds starting pitchers up for trade, but Tyler Mahle could end up being a solid addition for a team in need of a starter. The team that I think would be perfect for him would be the Minnesota Twins. While the starting pitching ranks 12th overall on the year in Fangraph WAR, they only ranked 27th over the last month. Mahle got off to a really tough start, posting a 5.53 ERA over the first 2 months. However, In the month of June, he recorded a 2.94 ERA and a 2.89 FIP. He's also more of a fly ball pitcher, and the Twins outfield currently ranks number 1 in outs above average on Baseball Savant. This looks like a good fit if you ask me. The Chicago White Sox should make a trade for Scott Effross. What the heck is going on with the Chicago White Sox this year? People were out there picking this team to make the World Series, and now they're sitting in third place with a sub-500 record. I still think this team has too much talent to not go on a run, and I would not be surprised if they got back into it in the second half of the season. I think they should buy, but with a thin farm, it's not likely they can get a big name unless they're willing to part with a younger major league player like Andrew Vaughn. So I think they should keep it small and address the bullpen, which has had some injuries lately. Someone like Scott Effross from the crosstown rival Cubs would be a nice addition, as he's having a very underrated season. He's also got a few more years until he reaches free agency, and he shouldn't cost a whole lot, considering he had a lot of time in the minors before emerging out of nowhere. Last but not least, I think the New York Yankees should trade for Luis Castillo. Let's end this with a bang. The Yankees are simply phenomenal this year, with far and away the best record in Major League Baseball. That starting rotation ranks number 1 overall for the year, and for good reason. Garrett Cole has been Garrett Cole. Nestor Cortez has emerged as one of the best starters in the game. Jamison Tyone is having arguably his best season. Luis Severino has come back nicely from Tommy John surgery, and Jordan Montgomery continues to be solid. However, when I'm thinking about playoff baseball, I want to have all the firepower I can, and Luis Castillo would be a huge pickup for an already amazing rotation. This would be a checkmate kind of a move and could very well help the Yankees get their 28th World Series championship. So those are the players that I think teams should trade or trade for. Tell me your thoughts down below, but that's all I have for right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.